I have spent the last 48 hours reviewing intercept reports, Revolutionary Guard communiques, and maritime traffic data coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. And what I am looking at right now is not a ceasefire signal. It is not a de-escalation gesture. What I am looking at is a deliberate, surgically precise act of economic warfare dressed up as a humanitarian protocol. And virtually every major Western outlet has completely missed what is actually happening here. Here is the raw operational fact that nobody is leading with. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has unilaterally opened the Strait of Hormuz, the single most critical maritime choke point on the planet, but not for everyone. They have selectively cleared dozens of vessels flying under Chinese registration or operating under Chinese ownership. Not American, not European, not Japanese, Chinese. And they have done this at the precise moment Donald Trump sat down with Xi Jinping to discuss that exact waterway. That is not a coincidence. That is a coordinated strategic signal with an audience of one, Washington. What the mainstream media is framing as a minor operational update buried inside a live blog is, in reality, the most significant recalibration of Middle East power architecture since the Abraham Accords. Iran has just demonstrated in full operational daylight that it possesses the ability and the willingness to act as a gatekeeper of the global energy supply, and that it has already chosen its preferred tenant for that gate. Approximately 20% of the world's oil transits through Hormuz daily. The IRGC is not simply allowing ships through, it is issuing a masterclass demonstration in asymmetric economic leverage, telling Beijing that the corridor stays open under Iranian management, and telling Washington that its blockade doctrine has a critical vulnerability it has not yet publicly acknowledged. Tomorrow, I will break down the exact hardware and maritime interdiction protocols Iran is deploying to enforce these so-called management protocols. But understand the baseline before we go further. The rules of engagement in the Persian Gulf just changed, and the change did not come from the Pentagon. To understand why Iran's selective passage protocol at Hormuz represents a genuine strategic rupture and not merely a tactical footnote, one must first understand the geography and understand it with the precision of a naval war planner rather than a cable news anchor. The Strait of Hormuz is not simply a body of water. It is a 21 nautical mile wide pressure valve sitting between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, bordered on the northern flank by Iranian sovereign territory and on the southern flank by Omani coastline. At its navigable core, the internationally recognized shipping lanes compress to two corridors, each barely 2 miles wide, one inbound, one outbound. Every very large crude carrier, every liquefied natural gas tanker, every refined petroleum vessel transiting between the energy fields of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar, and the UAE must pass through those two lanes. There is no alternate route. There is no strategic bypass. The Suez Canal does not solve this. The Cape of Good Hope adds 15 days of transit time and an unsustainable insurance premium. Hormuz is, in the coldest operational terms, irreplaceable. This is precisely why Western naval doctrine, specifically the U.S. Fifth Fleet's operational posture out of Naval Support Activity Bahrain, has long treated Hormuz as an area requiring persistent, overwhelming surface presence. The doctrine assumes that American carrier strike group dominance in the Arabian Sea, combined with Allied air superiority, creates a deterrence architecture sufficient to prevent any hostile power from meaningfully threatening commercial transit. That assumption is now under direct measurable stress. What conventional Western doctrine failed to adequately model is the asymmetric coastal defense architecture Iran has spent 3 decades constructing along its northern Hormuz coastline. The Zagros mountain range descends directly into the Iranian littoral, providing natural concealment for mobile anti-ship missile batteries. Systems including the Noor, the Qader, and the more recently fielded Zolfaghar coastal defense platforms are not fixed installations that can be pre-targeted and eliminated in a first strike package. They are dispersed, road mobile, and capable of achieving full operational readiness in minutes. Their electromagnetic profiles during standby mode are minimal. They are specifically engineered to survive the opening salvo of a U.S. suppression of enemy air defenses campaign. Layered above these coastal platforms sits an extensive network of fast attack craft operated by the IRGC Navy, small, low-radar cross-section vessels capable of swarm interdiction tactics against larger surface combatants. These are not speedboats deployed out of desperation. They are a doctrine, a doctrine refined through wargame iterations and live exercises specifically designed to overwhelm the point defense systems of Western destroyer-class vessels through saturation attack vectors. The physical and military geography of Hormuz, therefore, does not favor the power with the most advanced carrier aviation. It favors the power with the most intimate knowledge of the terrain and the most credible willingness to weaponize it. Iran holds both of those cards simultaneously. What changed this week is that Tehran has now demonstrated it is prepared to use those cards selectively as a commercial instrument, rather than a purely kinetic one. That distinction is the most dangerous development in this theater in years.